Swadika, I'm Nad Bunag and welcome to This Week with Thai PBS World. 2022 has been a year with a number of good news, scandals, and also tragedies. Tonight we take a look back at the stories making headlines throughout the year. This year saw the biggest tragedy in Thailand, which also shocked the whole world when a gunman attacked a childcare center in Nong Bolampur province, resulting in 38 fatalities, mostly young children. No one could have ever imagined that this local childcare center in Thailand's northeastern province of Nong Bolampur would be the location of a massacre which shocked the entire nation and the world. On October 6th, a gunman broke into the center in broad daylight and opened fire at teachers and students and even stabbed some to death. He reportedly shot random people on his way before he shot his wife, his son, and then killed himself at his home. With a total of 38 fatalities, mostly young children, this became the deadliest mass murder in Thailand's modern history. Many people shared their deep sadness and condemned the horrendous attack. In light of the massacre, Their Majesties the King and Queen offered their condolences to the victims' families and provided medical assistance to those who were injured. Their Majesties also visited Nong Bolampur Hospital to meet the families and the injured.
รู้สึกเสียใจรู้สึกเศร้าสลดมากที่มีเหตุการณ์แบบนี้เกิดขึ้นแล้วก็ความรู้สึกขอร่วมในความเศร้าโศกเสียดายเสียใจก็ไม่ทราบจะอธิบายยังไงเข้าใจแล้วก็มีความรู้สึกร่วมมันก็เป็นเหตุที่ไม่ดีเกิดขึ้นแล้วก็ถ้าเผื่อมีอะไรเดือดร้อนลำบากก็จะให้ความสะดวกช่วยเหลือดูแลขอแสดงความเสียใจแล้วก็ไม่มีคำไหนที่มาแทนคำว่าเสียใจได้ก็ขอให้กำลังใจของพวกเราอย่าเข้มแข็งเพื่อวิญญาณน้องๆเขาจะได้มีความสบายใจว่าญาติครอบครัวเขาก็เข้มแข็งและมีชีวิตต่อไป
1 week after the attack, a religious ceremony was held at the childcare center to bless the souls of the victims. Royally sponsored cremations also took place at 3 temples. The victims' families and thousands of villagers from Nong Bolampur and nearby provinces came together to say their final goodbyes. The motive behind the killings remains unknown. Based on reports, however, the gunman had been fired from the police force in June over possession of methamphetamine. He had attended a court hearing just hours before committing the crime, and he had been scheduled to hear the verdict on the following day. With his long and documented history of misconduct related to drug and alcohol abuse taken into account, police initially suspected that he was under the influence of drugs. The autopsy showed, however, that he was not under the influence of either when he committed the crime. Investigators have instead pointed to stress from financial and family problems as a possible explanation. The tragedy also uncovered the deep problems in Thai society, especially the lax gun control measures and the easy access to weapons under the gun welfare program, under which police officers are allowed to purchase firearms at lower than market prices. The government and authorities have reconsidered the scheme and have promised to overhaul the existing gun laws. The The massacre in Nong Bulampur will be remembered as the worst mass killing in Thailand's history to date, provoking changes to curb gun violence and drug abuse. But for the victims' families and those who survived the attack, their pain will remain forever. And the Nong Bulampur massacre was the most distressing story we ever had to report on. Moving on to the biggest story in Thai politics. Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha's term in office has sparked debate over when his time in office really ends, as the current constitution stipulates that a prime minister's term can be no more than 8 years. Prayut has been the prime minister since the coup in 2014.
ต้องถือว่าคณะรัฐมนตรีซึ่งแม้จะเข้าสู่ตำแหน่งโดยรัฐมนตรีฉบับอื่นก็โดยรัฐธรรมนูญฉบับอื่นก็ตามย่อมเป็นคณะรัฐมนตรีตามรัฐธรรมนูญแห่งราชอาณาจักรไทยพุทธศักราช 2560 ตั้งแต่วันที่ 6 เมษายน 2560 อันเป็นวันประกาศใช้รัฐธรรมนูญแห่งราชอาณาจักรไทยพุทธศักราช 2560 เป็นต้นไปตามบทเฉพาะการ
2022 was likely the most challenging year in Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha's political career, which began when he came to power via the military coup he led in May 2014. After ruling unchallenged for almost 5 years by virtue of his absolute power as junta chief, Prayut began to feel the political heat when he found himself head of a coalition government, with no extra parliamentary powers after the 2019 election. In addition to frequent street protests against him and his government, he also faced opposition censure motions, one per year on average, and petitions filed with the Constitutional Court challenging his legitimacy as Prime Minister. Prayut managed to survive the first 4 cases against him via unanimous rulings by the Constitutional Court's 9 judges. But the 5th case this year was somewhat different. On September 30th, Prayut received his first split verdict when judges ruled 6-3 that his 8-year term had not expired on August 24th. The court ruled by majority that Prayut's tenure began on April 6, 2017, when the current constitution was promulgated, and that this previous premiership did not apply under this charter. The tenure limit petition was the toughest legal challenge for Prayut so far, threatening his position like no other. With politicians now focused on the upcoming general election, however, another legal challenge to Prayut's legitimacy is unlikely during this term of parliament. The Election Commission has tentatively scheduled May 7th for the next national vote if the House of Representatives completes its 4-year term on March 23rd. As a House dissolution appears likely, many political analysts expect an earlier election date. November provided some respite for Prayut as he hosted world leaders at the APEC summit in Bangkok, basking in the limelight along China's Xi Jinping, France Emmanuel Macron, US Vice President Kamala Harris, and others. Though opinion polls show a reduction in popularity, an analyst says that Prayut should take the court's split verdict on his tenure as a golden ladder on which to step down. Just before Christmas weekend, Prayut announced his intention to stand as a candidate for premiership in the next general election, under the banner of the newly set up Rwam Thai Sang Chart or United Thai Nation Party.
รวมไทยทั้งชาติใช่ไหมก็ได้เสนอมาแล้วนะว่ายินดีสนับสนุนนายกสุผมในการเป็นนายกรัฐมนตรีในการเลือกตั้งครั้งต่อไป
An analyst said that Prayut's glory days are over, but he is not at the bottom yet. So whether he will get to stay for another 2 years will depend on the general election results and what the coalition parties decide, the outcome of which Thailand will know in the next few months.
And if Prayut is selected Prime Minister again, he can serve no more than 2 years. 2022 also saw the country's biggest Me Too case to date, which has put the oldest political party in hot waters with sexual harassment allegations made against the former deputy leader of the Democrat Party, Prinn พานิชภักดิ์
ผมยินดีที่เข้าสู่กระบวนการยุติธรรมแล้วก็พร้อมที่จะเรียกว่าเข้าไปชี้แจงข้อเท็จจริงนะครับกับเจ้าหน้าที่
กรณีที่เกิดขึ้นที่เกี่ยวข้องกับคุณปรินพานิชภักดิ์นั้นผมรู้สึกเสียใจอย่างสุดซึ้งและต้องขอถือโอกาสนี้กราบขอโทษต่อทุกสิ่ง
คดีที่เคยทำไว้ที่อังกฤษนะคะ
Once a rising star in Thai politics, Prinn พานิชภักดิ์ former deputy leader of the Democrat Party, fell from grace in April after a string of sexual harassment and assault allegations were filed against him. The scandal began when an 18-year-old woman filed a complaint with the police, accusing Prinn of groping and kissing her against her will at a restaurant in Bangkok. After reports of the allegation went public, with the help of famous lawyer Sitra Biabangerd, more women came forward to file complaints against the politician. A total of 16 cases of sexual abuse were filed against Prinn, although the statute of limitations had expired on 3, and some of the alleged offenses took place outside the country, according to police. Prinn decided to quit the Democrat Party just days after the first complaint was filed.
ผมยืนยันในความบริสุทธิ์ใจเพราะว่าหลายข้อกล่าวหานะครับที่ข้อกล่าวหาที่มาทั้งหมดเนี่ยผมปฏิเสธแล้วไม่ใช่เรื่องจริงนะครับหลายคนที่รู้จักผมก็รู้ดีว่าผมไม่ใช่คนอย่างนั้นถึงแม้เรื่องนี้เป็นเรื่องส่วนตัวแต่ว่าเรื่องส่วนตัวนี้ได้กระทบกับการทำงานในหน้าที่ภารกิจของพรรคประชาธิปัตย์ที่ผมมีตำแหน่งอยู่ผมจึงขอลาออกจากทุกตำแหน่งในพรรคประชาธิปัตย์
Apart from being the only son of Sopachai Panichapak, former deputy prime minister and commerce minister during the Chon Lipai administration, Prinn himself already had a strong background in economics. Prinn received a bachelor's degree from the London School of Economics and Political Science. He also has extensive experience working at several financial institutions in Thailand before being chosen as the head of the Democrat Party's economic team and the deputy party leader in 2019. Prinn's promising future as a politician was cut short as the sexual assault allegations against him became Thailand's biggest high-profile Me Too case to date. It promoted conversations about sexual harassment, especially how Thai culture often stigmatizes the victims of sexual harassment and why society still gives the benefit of the doubt to the rich and powerful, even for such appalling crimes. It has also tainted the Democrats' long-standing reputation as Thailand's oldest political party and has put its current leader, Jurin Laksanawisit, in a difficult position. As Jurin nominated Prinn to be the party's deputy leader himself, people inside and outside the party demanded that Jurin and other party executives take responsibility. Some Democrat politicians also claimed that Jurin knew about Prinn's alleged sexual misconduct even before nominating him for the position. The Democrat Party leader later offered his sincere apologies for the scandal, but refused to step down, arguing that resigning would be equivalent to abandoning his responsibilities.
ถ้าหากว่าอยู่ๆก็ลาออกไปทิ้งปัญหาไว้ก็จะกลายเป็นการหนีปัญหานั่นก็เป็นความไม่รับผิดชอบประการหนึ่งเพราะฉะนั้นเราก็คิดกันว่าเมื่อเกิดปัญหาขึ้นแล้วเกิดในยุคเราก็ต้องเป็นหน้าที่ของเราที่จะต้องเข้าไปแก้ไขปัญหานะครับให้เสร็จสิ้นลุล่วงไม่ใช่ปล่อยปัญหาทิ้งไว้ให้คนรุ่นต่อไปหรือให้คนอื่นต้องรับผิดชอบ
Since then, many Democrat Party veterans and some of the members have left the party, indicating their disappointment over the way Jurin has dealt with the controversy. The ending of the story still remains unclear. Will the rule of law finally bring justice for sexual assault victims, or will Prinn's power help him get away from his crimes? Whatever the verdict may be, the scandal has at least brought awareness that we can no longer turn a blind eye to sexual abuse, especially cases involving powerful figures. Well, despite the scandals, there have been some other stories that give people hope. In May 2022, Bangkok got to decide its own future through its gubernatorial elections, which saw a landslide victory for Chadchart. Many people have high hopes that this will be the beginning of a new kind of politics in Bangkok.
We have to serve them. I think we unify them by serving them equally. Whether they elect me or not, they are Bangkok people, so we serve them equally.
On May 22nd, former Transport Minister Chadchart made history when he won Bangkok's gubernatorial election by a landslide. He favored in the opinion polls to win, but significantly outpaced expectations by garnering 1.38 million votes, or 52% of all ballots cast, while his two closest rivals received less than 10% each. The runner-up, Sushashawi Suwansawat from the Coalition Democrat Party, won 9.6% of the votes, while third-placed Wirod Lakana Adisan from the opposition Move Forward Party garnered 9.5%. Chadchart became the fourth candidate to gain more than 1 million votes since the first Bangkok gubernatorial election in 1975. Mr. Sakumpan Boripat from the Democrat Party set the previous record with 1,256,349 votes in the March 2013 election. The sheer level of his support showed Chadchart's votes came from groups spanning the political spectrum, and not just from the core opposition Thai party with which he had been associated.
I think it's a mandate from the people, and I think we have to celebrate. I think that's my policy from the beginning. We have to celebrate with all parties.
This was the first Bangkok gubernatorial poll in 9 years after local elections were suspended following the 2014 military coup. More than 2.67 million voters cast their ballots, accounting for 61.2% of the capital's eligible voters. Political observers said that after the long hiatus, frustrated residents of Bangkok were keen to choose their representative at the ballot box. In the two Bangkok elections held on the same day, there was, however, a large gap between the volume of votes for gubernatorial candidates of political parties and those for their city council candidates. Chadchart said for him, the recent Bangkok gubernatorial election reflected true democracy in Thailand.
When we look at the general election, right, we have senators who get involved with the selection of the Prime Minister. So that's not true democratic. But if you in Bangkok governor, the governor is elected directly from the people. So that, I think that's a true democracy. And that should reflect in the big government too.
According to a poll from National Institute of Development Administration, more than 80% of people living in Bangkok are satisfied with the performance of Governor Chadchart in the 6 months since he took office. However, there are signs that the new governor's honeymoon period may be coming to an end. Critics point out that 6 months into his 4-year term, the governor is yet to honor his campaign promise to tackle issues soon after being elected, including SkyTrain fares, flooding, toxic smog, and street vendors on the pavements. Being too active on social media is another criticism detractors level against him. Kittipat Chernsukjit reporting for Thai PBS World.
Apart from the Bangkok governor elections, this year also saw another tragedy that gripped the nation. Earlier this year, the death of a Thai actress, Pattaratida Pacharavirapong, also known as Tangmo, shocked many fans. It caused widespread speculation over the real cause of her death, as well as the transparency of the investigation. Google searches in Thailand even prove that people are much more interested in the case than the conflict between Russia and Ukraine.
That was the last clip she ever made. Pattaratida Pacharavirapong, better known by Thais as Tangmo, was a famous Thai actress when she was alive, but even more so after her controversial death earlier this year. The 37-year-old disappeared from a private boat that was cruising the Chadchart River on the night of February 24th. Later that night, a few members of the cruise party met an advisor at the petrol station, something they only admitted after they were presented with CCTV recordings from the meeting's location. Meanwhile, Tangmo's brother and boyfriend joined rescue teams in a frantic all-night search for the missing actress. Her body was discovered 2 days later, after 5 of her companions on the trip said she had fallen from the back of the boat while answering the call of nature. Public suspicion was, however, soon aroused by discrepancies in their stories. A few days later, other members of the cruise party spoke to media, hoping to clear up any doubts. This move backfired spectacularly, raising more questions and rumors that Tangmo had been the victim of foul play, possibly homicide.
แม่ประดาน้ำไม่เป็นแม่ไม่มีอุปกรณ์อะไรใดๆแล้วเราอยู่กันคนละบ้านซึ่งต้องบอกตามตรงว่าไม่ได้สนิทกับคุณแม่มากไม่ได้โทรบอกค่ะ
จริงแล้วมันคืออะไรมันอยู่ในใจเขาแต่เขาไม่พูดเขาไม่ยอมเปิดเผยความจริงเขาก็กลัวตัวเขาโดนด้วยแล้วจะเอาเขาเนี่ยเป็นคนจ้างน้องโมไปกินข้าวลงเรือตัวกระติกนี่แหละ
While an autopsy concluded that Tangmo died of drowning, a former surgeon at Phamongkut Klao Hospital has asked why Tangmo's stomach and lungs were filled with mud, something that is very unusual in drowning cases but common in homicides. On August the 3rd, Tangmo's cruise companions and their advisor were charged with crimes, including recklessness causing death and making false statements. The charges stem from a police complaint made by Tangmo's mother, Panida Siriyut-Yotin. Despite everything about this case seeming surreal, Panida let the case proceed without digging too deeply into its controversies. She was satisfied with the compensation from the 6 defendants. On September 21st, after the amount of compensation was settled, Panida withdrew as a co-plaintiff with the prosecutor.
ไม่โกรธใครเลยค่ะพวกหนูคุณแม่ไม่โกรธ
Recently, Panida asked for an increase in the monthly compensation payment from 30,000 to 50,000 baht, but all the defendants refused. The trial is ongoing. 179 witnesses are due to testify.
Another story that made headlines in 2022 is the roller coaster ride of the legalization of cannabis and hemp. Throughout the year, the cannabis hemp bill has seen ups and downs in parliament, as well as backlash from those who oppose the idea of legalizing the plant.
ก็ไม่มีคำว่ากัญชาอยู่ในคำว่าอยู่ในประเภทพืชที่เป็นยาเสพติดอีกต่อไปนะครับยกเว้นสารสกัดจากกัญชาที่มีค่า THC เกิน 0.2%
In February 2022, the Public Health Ministry issued a regulation legalizing all parts of the cannabis plant. The regulation came into effect on June 9th, paving the way for pot to become completely legal. So as of June 9th, businesses began launching products containing cannabis, including food and beverages. Thanks to this expansive regulation, shops selling cancha began sprouting up all over the city, and some grocery stores even began stocking the stuff. Concerns have been growing, however, that Thailand's move to legalize cannabis may have unlocked the free trade in and consumption by people who may not fully understand the potentially harmful effects of marijuana use.
I think what concerns us the most is the misuse and abuse of cannabis that's so readily available to people of all ages, especially people that are underage or may not really be educated on how to consume the plant.
While Public Health Minister Anutin Charnvirakul insists that the government has no policy to promote the recreational use of marijuana, critics say his Phumjai Thai Party's plan to decriminalize it is exactly that. In response to the criticism, various government agencies have introduced new regulations to control the use of cannabis. The Public Health Ministry, for instance, recently declared that the potent buds of the marijuana plant are a controlled substance. Following this declaration, ministry representatives backed by the police have arrested several vendors in Bangkok's Tangmo area for selling the herb without permission. Over the past several months, both sides of the cannabis legalization argument have battled fiercely over whether Thailand's policies related to the herb are moving in the right direction. Critics suggest the government consider canceling the very concept before more damage is done, especially since there is no specific law that can comprehensively govern the use of cannabis. As of now, member of parliaments are still furiously debating every part of the 95 Article marijuana bill, under the watchful eye of the media, the public, and numerous medical groups. Even if the draft legislation does go through, it will still take several more months for it to come into effect.
รัฐบาลนี้มีนโยบายกัญชาเสรีจริงครับแต่จริงในทางการแพทย์ทางสุขภาพและทางเศรษฐกิจโดยมีการควบคุมถ้าเป็นไปได้ก็ขอให้มีการควบคุมโดยกฎหมายที่ออกโดยสภารัฐสภาแห่งนี้ชุดนี้นะครับ
The Phumjai Thai Party, a key member of the ruling coalition, has insisted that it will never backtrack on its policy to legalize marijuana. Several agencies under the Public Health Ministry, like the Thai Food and Drug Administration, have also supported the use of cannabis. These agencies have assured the public that if the marijuana bill is passed, Thailand will have better control over cannabis use.
ก็ถ้าถามว่าพร้อมไม่พร้อมตอนนี้ก็ประกาศไปแล้ววันนี้ก็เลยจะต้องควรจะเป็นเรื่องของการให้ความรู้มากๆว่าอะไรใช้ได้อะไรใช้ไม่ได้อะไรควรใช้อะไรไม่ควรใช้
And that wraps up tonight's edition of This Week with Thai PBS World. Join us every Friday at 10:45 p.m. only on Thai PBS. And don't forget to follow us on social media, including our website, thaipbsworld.com, for all the latest updates as well as analyses. Thanks for watching, and we wish you a happy new year. สวัสดีปีใหม่ค่ะ